All of you are looking forward to reading the 2018 DORA results, just as I am. So a couple of service announcements before we move forward with today. All of the talks will be available on our website. That's Devops DFW website. So if you see a talk that you're interested in, you can go there. You'll be able to download the slides and those sort of things. So please take advantage of that resource. Up next for you this morning, we have two guest speakers, Dana and Bryan Finster. Dana and Bryan work for a very small company out of Arkansas, so I'll leave that nameless for them. These high school sweethearts have found newfound agile happiness after abandoning their 20-year waterfall courtship, and now have embraced agile and all the benefits and happiness it brings. So I hope you'll join me in giving a warm welcome to Bryan and Dana Finster.
Thanks, Roger.
You actually did that. That would be helpful.
Like you said, yes, we're from a small retailer in Northwest Arkansas.
Yep. Walmart employs only 2.3 million associates, supporting almost 12,000 stores worldwide with $500 billion in sales annually. Scaling DevOps to a company this size has some additional challenges.
And as everybody knows, DevOps is nothing but frameworks, defined process, and rules. And the very first rule of DevOps is you eventually do not talk about DevOps. It's confusing. We've had lots of conversations at work, and people are like, what's DevOps? I actually spent a simplified DevOps talks for like months. Don't talk about DevOps. It's overloaded. You can't buy it. You can't hire it, right? Instead, what you really want to focus on, as Jez talked about, is focus on the outcomes, foster the culture to get to those outcomes. Super important.
Yeah, really hitting on what Jez was saying about the capabilities driving the culture change. We know that effective teams can be built when they focus in on chunk-based development, continuous integration, and really driving down batch size. Because in order to do those things, teams have to solve the problems and remove the roadblocks in order to deliver faster with higher quality. So it really grows the effective teams by focusing in on the capabilities that are required.
So all we have to do at Walmart now is scale that to hundreds of teams worldwide, multiple business lines with deploying to edge nodes and cloud with a few tech stacks, everything from mainframe to C to Golang and many things in between. So we're taking an integrated approach to try to get that done. Hopefully we can help with any other challenges. So the very first thing, and the very first problem you have is when you have islands of people in the company that are development teams that are driving this, and they're all trying to solve the same problems, and other teams don't know the problems exist. But that doesn't scale for everybody to solve the same problem again and again and again. So we've got to fix that.
Right. So as a developer,
Wait.
Wait.
Please don't start a user story that way.
You're such a stickler.
Yeah.
All right. Where do we start? I had questions after I attended a DevOps day at Walmart a couple of years ago. It was pretty new to me, but it sounded great, and it sounded like just an easier way to work, a better way to work, a way for my team to deliver more value faster. So I looked around, and I knew that we were pushing this, that we were going in this direction. But finding those individual islands, there was one over here and one over there, trying to find an actual cohesive kind of strategy and central area to get information was kind of daunting. I thought back to the DevOps day and decided that maybe it was time for another one. And so I pulled a couple people from across the country that were already executing and doing some really great things to come together and share. I also knew that if I only did a DevOps day, that everybody who was sort of newer to it, like I was the previous year, was going to come away from it all excited and ready to go, with still really nowhere to go to say, where do we start? How do we build a pipeline? So I started Continuous Chai, our CI/CD user group, which in order so that we could focus in on sharing, getting people to collaborate, And Continuous Chai is that user group. Today we have over 500 members. We do weekly meetings for people to come and demo and to have discussions. It's like half demo and half discussion. One of the biggest things that's come out of this is not only that people are sharing, people are in the chat ops community asking questions, but people are sharing earlier. They're sharing early and often. And that's what sharing should mean in DevOps, not look at this awesome shiny thing I just totally finished making, because that's the mindset that a lot of developers have had for a long time. Don't look at it, it's not finished. It's not, I don't know if this is the best idea yet. But what the user group does is it encourages people to bring that out, bring out the idea, bring out what they're working on in progress. Because a lot of times people find that other teams are trying to solve almost the same problem. So it's saving time, it's saving effort to be able to get people collaborating early and often.
And having the network available is really important for problem solving. I mean, it's way faster than Google. If you've got a problem with how to test React, we say, hey, have you asked in Continuous Chai? And you'll get a mob programming online immediately to try to get that problem solved. The other thing is you've got a safe place to go and ask questions or try stuff out. When Dana and I were demoing this deck in Continuous Chai, we brought a group of our peers together and we gave the presentation. And they knew that they could give us feedback that was honest. We knew we'd get honest feedback. And the pile of Post-it notes was daunting, but it helped quite a bit.
And one of the things that's great, it's absolutely fantastic to build and have a great community to do the sharing. But it takes a lot of effort to build that community. If you're looking to start a user community, it takes someone who's passionate about the purpose of the community in order to keep it running and keep the momentum going. It's important to keep it interesting. With Continuous Chai, we've been through a whole lot of formats. We've tried simple coffee chats, we've tried demos, mob programming sessions. We even took it off-site and got about 3 people because parking in a building where 4,000 people work after you come back from something off-site is not fun. So we learned. We said, okay, this isn't going to work. This is going to work. And one of the biggest things, though, with the vast amount of topics around CI/CD and DevOps is that not every single thing and not every single format is going to appeal to every single person. And it may not be relevant. So if a user group wants to have people involved and encourage engagement, a consistent schedule is really key. It allows people to expect when things are going to happen so that when they find out what's going to happen, they're ready if it's relevant to them and they join in and participate. The last thing I think is just key to building a community is to have patience. There were a lot of times when we'd go into a room where we had a meeting set up and it would be the 2 of us sitting there, talking about DevOps. But just the patience, because eventually it's building up and we consistently get large groups. It does ebb and flow though, and every once in a while, you kind of got to mix it up, and swag and free food are always a good motivator.
Bribery works, I guarantee you. So this is Jeremy King, my CTO, standing next to Dana when he was awarded his shirt. We instituted shirts. If you're going to present at Continuous Chai, you're going to get a shirt. And we went from having meetings scheduled with every 2 weeks, maybe every once a month, to weekly, just to clear the backlog of topics people wanted to cover. It's a really powerful tool. And Jeremy didn't buy it, he had to earn it. So the next thing is that it doesn't scale for everybody to come up with their own method of delivery. If every single area in the company says, I'm going to go buy this tool, we're going to build our CD pipelines, we're just too massive a company to deal with that. So we have a unified pipeline to go to production at this point. So software delivery enablement, that's where I work. We do pipeline as a service. It's built on open source, and then we are modifying it to scale to us. At this point, it's the primary way people go to production. We work very hard to make the right thing the easy thing to do. The initiative that my area works on is called Irresistible Developer Experience. We want people to use the tools not because they have to use the tools. We want them to want to use the tools because it's just better and easier for them.
Yep. The pipeline is made up of multiple tools: Concord Orchestrator, Looper CI, Sentinel Security, and Proximity Repository. It's really easy to train people, to encourage people to use something that's easy to configure when it's one thing across the enterprise. The plugin tool structure that this uses allows developers to simply configure each thing that they want in their pipeline. But some of the things are not configurable. Some of the things like the security gatekeeper, the security scans, that really prevent the bad code from going to production, they are not optional. They come right along with the pipeline. So not only do developers not have to set them up, they also can't forget about them, and they can't forget to put them in there. We showed this slide in Continuous Try, and one of the developers that was there said, wow, I've never really, all those lines, I've never really seen every intricacy that goes on in the pipeline. He said, it's kind of like magic. Like, as a developer, it goes to Git, it gets built, and the magic happens. So simplifying the deployment aspect of it, simplifying the pipeline and the automation that can be repeated across teams, across tech stacks within the enterprise, is really, goes a long way to making things easy and allowing the developers to focus on coding.
Yeah, for example, Concord is our workflow orchestration engine, and it's just plug-in based. We build plugins for all the tools we use and the other tools people need. You can use it for just general automation, but it's the backbone of our CD pipeline. And it's built on open source. And this, like all the other tools that we're working on, we're going to be hopefully very soon pushing this out back to the community.
Yeah. And my team especially can benefit from our use of tools that are built for open source like this. I work for a team that supports our security incident response teams. And because of that, our entire environment is air-gapped from the rest of the network. But we can take Concord, install it internally to our segregated network, and then still benefit from all the other infrastructure and all the other features that are being put in the pipeline for the organization by the SDE team. This is an example of the CI configuration file. It's written very simply. It uses a declarative language. It's co-located right with the code in the repository, so it makes versioning very simple. It makes configuration for individual repos extremely easy. And one of the best things, again, is that it hides the complexity. If I want to publish my metrics through my pipeline to Hygieia, all I have to do is call the Hygieia feature. I don't need to know exactly how that API works directly to Hygieia or any of the intricacies involved.
And metrics are super important. No one wants to measure. No one wants to know how we're doing, right? But you can't improve what you don't measure. But you got to make it fun, or people will just ignore them as much as possible. So we are working to gamify our metrics. Now, the core metrics the team uses is Hygieia. How many people know about Hygieia? Excellent. If you don't know about Hygieia, I'd recommend using it. Just before it became one of our core tools, my team was using Hygieia. Multiple teams were using Hygieia. I came from a product team. It's Devops Dashboard. It gives you the pipeline health or repository from Git all the way to production. It tells you how you're doing at CI, how your build's doing. It's really valuable.
The Hygieia dashboard looks like this, and it gives my team the ability to see our deploy, build, quality metrics. It gives us a lot of detailed information here, but in addition to that, it's also scored. So at a glance, we can see which repositories we're doing pretty well on and which that we might need to give a little bit more attention to. And that score is made up of very transparent metrics. Each score, you can dig in and see what is making up that score, so that if it's lower, you can say, oh, well, we're committing without using pull requests or whatever that detailed thing is, and be able to know how to take the next steps to improve.
Well, and that's key because we can't go person to person and say this is what you're supposed to be doing. This is how trunk-based development works. But we can put the information out there so they can self-guide and ask us questions where they don't have answers. But you have to be careful with metrics, right? You have to be careful with this. We want it to be fun. This isn't for judging teams. Competitive teams have come to me when I was the product owner for IG at Walmart. Asking why things are measured the way they were. It's like, hey, this isn't quite right. For example, if you had a repository that wasn't being actively under development, it was just doing its thing. They're saying, well, and now I have to go and do more work on this thing just to get the score up. And like, yeah, that's absolutely true. And we also have people telling me how we're going to game the system. And so the team would be like game masters, right? It's like we want you to go down the dungeon, but we want you to go safe and fast, and we don't want you fighting trolls that you don't need to go and slay. So we came up with a higher level dashboard, and it shows the things we really care about. I want to know, number one, we have a tool that tells us how many engineers are on a team. So we can average all of the metrics by team size. And so I want to know how frequently you're going to master, right? And I want that to be at least once a day per developer. How frequently you're deploying. I want that to be at least once a day per developer to meet, my level of minimums. And so this lets the teams focus on the stuff that they really should focus on instead of doing busy work just to get scores up, and then they can be competitive about this instead.
And this really goes a long way within a team to drive the more competitive teammates. My team uses this. We pull it up almost every single day, partially to look and see, make sure their score's not going down, make sure their test coverage is always going up as a whole. There's a lot of good information here. But when we're talking about the gamification, the scoring part of it, I have a tech lead who pulls this up every morning specifically to go up one view, look at everybody in the area, and make sure that we still have the highest score. So, there's something to be said for what motivates specific individuals.
But even with the scoring, people still have questions. We still have questions about how to test effectively or how to manage our workflow. And so we create the Sherpa team. So I'm now on the CD Sherpa team, and our motto is deploy more, sleep better. And our job is to go out and work with other developers to show them the experiences we've had, what works for them, what's worked for us, and to help them along the way. So we're delivery platform support. And if you have a problem, if the teams have a problem tying the tools together, we're the frontline support for that. But like I said, we're Sherpas. Just like on the Himalayas, the Sherpas have been up and down the path. They know where Green Boots is. They don't want you to become into the landmark. And they're trying to get you safely to the peak of the mountain. We do the same thing. We're not going to tell you where to go. We're not going to tell you how to do it. We will help shoulder the load. We will share our experiences and try to keep you as safe as you can possibly be. We run tech workshops to go and help with testing, or I had one recently, Agile Rehab. We do management outreach, management training, anything that's required to get the information out. And we're passionate developers. We're not Agile coaches. Not that there's anything bad with Agile coaches. It's just that we come from development teams. And we will coach teams on Agile because we've operated that way. We'll coach them on anything that's required. If they're having problems with their test suites, or even just how to unit test, we'll sit down, we'll pair program with them. We're in the weeds with them. We'll help with architecture. If your application is just far too big to do this effectively, we'll sit down with you and lay out a roadmap for how to strangle it out and give you some patterns to follow. Anything that's required, anything that's required. If you're having cultural issues, we'll help with that. We'll be your therapist.
Even the 6-week engagements.
Oh yes, we do 6 weeks engagements where we'll embed into the team for 6 weeks and join the team. And teams, we're still teams with those teams. Those teams like talking to us still.
So by pulling all of these things together, we started with the community, building up more awareness, building up more collaboration across different areas and different teams. Then we started building the consolidated pipeline, which started in several large areas and is now growing to encompass the enterprise. Then we added the gamified metrics. When the teams are on the platform, they're automatically getting the metrics. And the gamification makes it really fun. It makes developers want to improve so that their metrics improve. And then finally, with the addition of the Sherpa guides, they're able to come in and just target particular teams, particular training needs, and really get word out and more information throughout the whole organization.
And this tight collaboration between the pipeline, the Sherpas, and the metrics, we all come from STE. That's all part of STE. And then we collaborate closely with Continuous Chai to give as much support as we can. I mean, we bought the shirts for Continuous Chai. We'll financial support, whatever it takes to get the message out. We're on a mission, right? The key thing here, though, is just like all the rules of DevOps, all of this stuff is contextual. None of this stuff is cookie cutter, right? And we spend a lot of time trying to find things that work with us. And so the recommendation, leverage your culture, right? Use what works for you. If people are motivated by certifications, put a meaningful certification program together. If they want to play and have fun and go after badges, put badges out there. I've seen the Verizon dojo. It's awesome, by the way, guys. And they have badges on their associate profiles that tells what they've accomplished, right? If it's cash, hey, you know what? Do cash, because you'll save more money paying people cash to solve problems than you will not, right? Give people permission. Now at Walmart, we have a culture of just grassroots improvement. Dana didn't ask for permission to go and do DevOps Day or form Continuous Chai. She didn't ask, can I, may I? She said, how, right? And got the question answered and did it. And hopefully everybody here has that culture, but everyone's not necessarily going to know that. You just need to be absolutely explicit. You have permission, go improve, right? Because you've got the good people out there, and all you need to do is go and grab them and enable them to improve things.
And so far, we've seen some exciting outcomes. We've seen a lot more collaboration across different teams in different areas. We've seen teams really striving to improve their process so that they can improve their metrics. And the teams that are focusing in on this are delivering more rapidly with higher quality. Most importantly, they've also started to learn that CI/CD really takes the drama out of delivery. And teams are having more fun.
Yeah, and like I said, I come from a development team. Last year, a teammate and I presented DevOps Enterprise Summit. You always hear about how this is good for the enterprise. We wanted to give the perspective of a team. It's good for the team. You get over a hump, and then you just have more fun. It's just a much more awesome way to work. And if you have a team that's driving that way, they will pursue it hard. So, like everybody else here, we don't have every problem solved. We're scratching the surface still, right? But the problem that is most near and dear to me right now is how to get non-technical stakeholders who don't really understand the nuts and bolts of daily delivery, the information they need in a way that they can make good decisions. If they don't have that good information, they might think they're doing the right thing and drive a team backwards. And the faster we have them making good decisions, the faster I get to see really cool stuff like this. So this is how someone in my area deploys to production a mission-critical component, right? Seriously, I mean, it's managed servlet, and a lot of people use it. If Hygieia shows that he's got a clean pipeline, the light is blue, right? He then flips the switch, and Looper tells him, you still have a green build, you're good to go. And then he hits the easy button and deploys. And this is a real thing. There's a Raspberry Pi in there. It's super cool, every day. Right? Yeah. And if you guys would like to see cool stuff like this, we also are hiring careers.walmart.com, all positions. So, hit me up, and I'll get you connected to the right people. Thank you very much.
About what Walmart is doing. Now we've got an amazing time. It is break time. So we've got 10 minutes. Be back here by 10:30. And we'll have Kareth up here in a little bit next. Thank you so much. We'll see you shortly.